about second breakfast.
Time for second breakfast.
What's up, everybody? Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast here with your next installment of Loudwire's Top 50 NuMetal Albums of All Time. Now, I have gone through the first, 30, and now we are breaking ourselves into the top 20. Now, this was, again, I've said this at the beginning of every episode. If you are not starting at the beginning, you're a weird person. But just to reiterate, this was a list of the top 50 NuMetal albums of all time. It was published this year, January 1st, 2025. So this is relatively new. And just like I said I would do at the beginning of each episode, I'm going to remind you of what I think the top 5 will be, or at the very least 5 that I think will be in the top 10. That's Korn, Follow the Leader, Limp Bizkit, Significant Other, System of a Down, Toxicity, Deftones, White Pony, and Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. Now, we are getting ready to get into the top 20, and I would like to say that so far I'm doing pretty good because none of these albums have come up, but I guarantee they will. I would bet a lot of money that those will show up. So far I think I'm doing pretty well. So let's keep on rolling, baby. We already did that album. Okay, so we ended last week at number 21 with The Fundamental Elements of Southtown by P.O.D. We are starting today, number 20, Infest by Papa Roach. Now, absolutely, this is another one of those albums that you could make an argument to be in the top 10. I remember hearing Last Resort on a sampler CD. I've talked about these sampler CDs a bunch. They were called Monitor This. I'm not sure why the record exchange that I went to all the time in my hometown had the newest one of these every day or every time they came out, but I probably had 20 of them. And that's the first place I heard a ton of these bands because they would release a single. It would go to that before the album came out. So I remember hearing Last Resort on that and telling my friends and being like, guys, this band is going to blow up. And everybody told me the same thing. A band called Papa Roach is not a mainstream band. And they were all wrong because to this day, Papa Roach is still a huge mainstream band, and it all started on this album. Now, I mean, every one of these songs is a hit. You've got Blood Brothers, you got Binge, you've got Broken Home. There's a lot of really good songs on this album. It's definitely more rap rock than eventually they what's funny about Papa Roach's discography is they sort of did this weird thing where they were very rap rock, little bit of reggae influence, and then they went a lot more straight rock, straight alternative rock, alternative metal, and within the past couple years have actually gotten a little bit more rap rock and nu metal. So I've actually still really enjoy a lot of Papa Roach's newer stuff. I don't remember the album. It might have been called Ego Trip, but the album that has the song Ego Trip, I thought was a great album. That came out just within the past probably 5-6 years. But yeah, Infest is gnarly. It's a really good album. I think Dead Cell might be my favorite Papa Roach song. It's probably my favorite song off of this album. So yeah, Infest for sure. That's a really good nu metal album. Number 19, Kid Rock, Devil Without a Cause. Now, I will admit that I had this album when it came out. I loved this album when it came out. I think out of a lot of the albums that have been on this list so far, this one may have aged pretty poorly, comparatively speaking. I don't think it's a bad album, but I hesitate to call it nu metal. I mean, I guess you have to, but it's also one of those albums where it's just an artist that's kind of mixing rap with rock, with country, with hip hop, and it's a little all over the place. Now, if you're a fan of Kid Rock, you know, whatever. I know a lot of people don't like his politics, and that's fine. But I do find it very interesting that he really kind of blew up on the spot with this album. Songs like Ball with the Ball, Bull God, Cowboy. But now I don't think a lot of people even know those songs. They hear the song with him and Sheryl Crow. They see the stuff with Trump nowadays, and they kind of forget that, like, he started off as a pretty aggro rap rock guy. Excuse me. He started off as a wannabe rapper and tried his hand at that, and it was a little bit uncomfortable. This was the first time he had mainstream success. But, like I said, say what you will about Kid Rock. I did have that album. I did like that album. It's been a long time since I've listened to it. I don't know if I would like it as much now as I did when I was 14 or whatever when it came out. But, that's pretty high up there. I probably wouldn't even have it in my top 50. So, interesting that it's this high. So, okay, moving on. Number 18, we have Sepultura Roots. Now, when we talked about Soulfly, I had mentioned that Max Cavalera came from Sepultura. He's been in a bunch of other bands. I have listened to this a bit, but I honestly, other than, Roots, Bloody Roots, other than that, I don't know much about this album. This, to me, I would not have considered NuMetal. As I said, when we talked about Soulfly, I would consider Sepultura more of a groove metal band, more in the vein of a Pantera or a Machine Head. I'm a huge fan of Max Cavalera as a person. I think he's got a very interesting outlook on the world. So, this is another one, kind of like some of the other albums I've mentioned that I'm not super familiar with. I know I've listened to at least bits and pieces of it. If this is something I'm missing out on, you guys tell me. breakdownsbreakfast@gmail.com. Leave a comment on this episode. Let me know. Do I need to do a deep dive on Sepultura? Am I missing out on something here? As it stands, I don't know much about it, but I know they've got a pretty big following. They're still around, different vocalists now. At least I think they're still around. They were around up until just a few years ago, but I know Max Cavalera doesn't have anything to do with them anymore. So, anyway, moving on. 17. There we go. Deftones, Around the Fur. As I said before, this is my favorite Deftones album. Actually, features Max Cavalera on a song, which I believe is called Soulfly, now that I think about it. Or, no, he just screams something about Soulfly, fly high in the chorus. But no, I think the first Deftones song I ever heard was Be Quiet and Drive. And I really liked that song. I liked the driving nature of those big chords in the verse. Chino's voice for me, I kind of go back and forth. Like, for example, his voice on a song like Be Quiet and Drive, I really like. Because it's clean and it's full. I'm a little less into it when he's doing that, like, almost sounds like he's singing through a telephone thing. Sometimes it works, like on Around the Fur, the opening track on this album. First of all, one of the greatest guitar riffs in all of NuMetal. I love that riff. One of the first, NuMetal riffs I wanted to learn on guitar. But, the vocal choices that Chino makes are kind of always sort of interesting. But yeah, this is a really, really good album. I think it's called Died the Flu. Maybe that's the one. Oh, gosh. See, it's so hard when I don't have it in front of me. Mascara, that's a really good song on here. There's a lot. I really like Abe Cunningham's drum tone on this album, too. He's a really solid drummer, but I feel like in their later records where they get a little bit more experimental, he's not as locked in and tight and like funky sounding as he is like on the first three albums. So I really like his drums there. I think this is some of Chino's best vocal performances. I think this album has a lot of good riffs. Very cool album. Like I said, for me, this is peak Deftones. There's a bell curve on those first three albums. Adrenaline, I'm getting into it. Around the Fur, I'm loving it. White Pony, I'm getting out of it. So, cool to see this one here. so far, this is the first one that I'm like, man, God, I know I love that album. I need to go back and listen to it some more. So, yeah, number 17, Deftones Around the Fur. I still don't think we're done with Deftones. I think we're going to get one more in a little while. All right, number 16, System of a Down, Mesmerize. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know this one. My System of a Down knowledge. Okay, so I'll just be real with you. System of a Down is one of those bands that I never really got. Like, I remember hearing Sugar from the first album and liking it. And then there was one or two other songs off of that album that I liked as well. I think there's a song called Sweet Pea, maybe. Yeah, so I remember thinking like, okay, this is cool, it's wacky, I kind of got to be in the mood for it. And then when Toxicity came out, they just blew up. And, you know, that album was massive. So I bought that one. And after that, I know Hypnotize, Mesmerize, I think they came out at the same time. It was almost like a double album thing. I never listened to either one of them. I know they had that one song, Everybody's Going to the Party, have a... I'm going to guess that's on this album, because that was a pretty big mainstream hit. But no, I don't know. System of a Down is a very talented band. I think Serge and Darren, the main vocalist, they have a very strong opinion on world politics that they, you know, obviously researched and are very passionate about. A lot of it goes over my head. I don't know. We'll talk more about System of a Down because we're not done with them. I guarantee Toxicity is on its way. I have a teeny bit more to say about that album because I'm more familiar with it. But sure, if you think this belongs this high, I'm cool with that. I know they're very popular. Not for me. Yeah, so moving on. Number 15, Korn, Issues. I'm actually a little bit surprised to see it this high because for me, I feel like, as I said before when we talked about Untouchables, this is sort of the height of Korn's popularity, but the old school Korn fans are starting to take a step back because it's not as crazy as the Korn that they were the most familiar with. With that being said, Issues is a good title for this. This album is awesome. This is Follow the Leader is the first Korn album I bought the day it came out, but you best believe I was there the day this one came out as well. A lot of good songs on this one. The Falling Away From Me was a great song. I still hear that one on the radio sometimes. I like to play that one on guitar. There's also the one, Make Me Bad is another big song off of this album. I really like the song Counting. It has that good, like, dun 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 dun. It has a nice, like, head bob groove to it. Again, even if you don't love the songs on Issues and also Untouchables, the production quality is just massive. These riffs sound huge. The detuned guitars sound clean and clear. This is a good album. I like this album. I don't go back to this one as much as I do some of the other ones. But I think this is... I don't know. I still feel like the first three are kind of like the classic Korn. And I even had friends... I remember back when Follow the Leader came out, people didn't dig it because Life is Peachy was just so raw and nasty that Follow the Leader was too, like, disco-y and upbeat and fun and poppy. So by the time you get to Issues and Untouchables, you know, people have some complicated feelings when it comes to Korn. I was still all in. I like this album a lot. The music videos on this album are a lot of fun. They put out a DVD not that far after this album. I think it was around the time this album came out, where you, like, clicked around an asylum to find, like, music videos and clips. It was a lot of fun. I missed the home band DVD craze, man. I had so many of those, and it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, okay, there you go. Number 15, Korn, Issues. What? Okay, here we go. Number 14, Significant Other by Limp Bizkit. Okay, so that's the first one that I got wrong. I am genuinely shocked that this is not in the top 10. This is what made Limp Bizkit one of the biggest bands in the entire world, nu metal or not. Nookie, Rearranged, Just Like This. I mean, hit after hit. In Together Now with Method Man, you got that crossover appeal. This is when Fred Durst was on TRL all the time. This is when the rumors between Fred Durst and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and all that stuff started. It was wild to see this nasty rap metal band from $3 Bill Y'all take this gigantic step forward on this album to become a mainstream act. It was really shocking for, teenage guys that were listening to nu metal to see a band, first of all, with a name like Limp Bizkit on TRL next to the Backstreet Boys. Like, it was really cool. And I will say that just because of how music works and how our brains work, you listen to an album enough times, you listen to enough songs enough times, they start to lose some of their feeling and stuff. I feel like I've listened to Significant Other so many times that it has lost a little bit of its luster. But when I go back and I listen to songs like Trust and the No Sex, the song he does with Jonathan Davis and Scott Weiland, like, there's still some really cool stuff like buried in that album. The deep cuts on that album are better than the singles off of a lot of the albums we've covered. So I'm surprised it's not higher. I had it in the top 10, but here it is at number 14. So we'll see. Number 13, Slipknot Volume 3, Subliminal Verses. Now, I haven't talked about Slipknot a ton. That was a band that when they first came on the scene, it blew me away. I had never seen anything like it. That first album cover where all 9 of them are on there, and I didn't even notice it when I first got it when I was a kid, but the dude with the long nose is sitting between Corey's legs like it's his wiener, like, ha ha ha. But I had no idea what to expect. I had never heard anything by it. I just saw that album cover, kind of snuck it by my parents because it didn't have a parental advisory sticker on it yet. Funny side note though, when you opened the booklet on that first album, there was a great big section of lyrics that were really, really big that involved a lot of F words and S words and bad words. And my dad said, nope, get rid of this, give it to somebody, throw it away, don't care, you can't have it. Eventually I went back and got it, and I've seen Slipknot live. My dad likes Slipknot songs, a few of them. So anyway, I digress. Volume 3, Subliminal Verses, is the first time Slipknot becomes radio friendly. The first album is super nu metal. There's a bunch of scratching. Corey's almost rapping. The second album, Iowa, is, yes, I guess technically we'll call it nu metal, but it flirts with black metal and death metal. It is brutally heavy. And so this album, it's kind of funny. They went in a more mainstream direction, and what's really funny is there's actually no swearing on the album. For a band that is known for some of its colorful language on those first couple albums and their more recent stuff, it's clean. It's clean. I think there might be one song with 1 or 2 cuss words, but no, there's very little swearing. For whatever reason, the song titles are escaping me, but I know there's 2 or 3. I push my fingers into my eyes, which is, that's a great song. Clown's hit of that barrel in the middle of that song is always good. There's also the song they did, really cool music video. It's shot from like the neck down. They don't have their masks on, but their faces are blurry. And, but that song has a really good riff. Jeez, I don't know why the song titles are escaping me now, but that's a really good album. It's the most, I don't know, by now they've released so much more stuff, but I think at the time this was their most popular, most mainstream and successful album. So I'm not surprised to see it here, but I don't think this is going to be the last time we see Slipknot. I feel like Iowa or their first album could potentially be somewhere in the top 10, but I guess we will get there when we get there. So, number 12, whoa, I am shocked to see this. Make Yourself by Incubus. Now, when we just talked about Science last episode, I said I didn't think we would see Make Yourself because while I do think Make Yourself might be a little bit of a better album, I think Science is the most nu metal Incubus ever got. So I'm actually genuinely surprised to see this here. I love this album too. I said Science is my favorite, and I think I'm going to stand by that, but Make Yourself is a very close second. The guitar work on this album is a lot of fun. Mike, I'm just going to say his first name because I can never say his last name right. He's a PRS guy. I love his tone. I love what he's doing. He has a good way of doing like riffs, but then doing these real atmospheric, ethereal kind of guitar licks. Being a 311 fan, I can hear a lot of Tim Mahoney guitar work in some of Mike's stuff. This is a really good album. Again, I hesitate to call it new. It's so trippy and spacey and weird. I mean, you got songs like Privilege, you got songs like Make Yourself, Pardon Me, that have some heavy riffs and some rap stuff going on. But you also have Stellar, you also have Drive, you also have The Warmth, that are just these like pop rock songs. So, I'm not mad at it. I think it's a great album. I think it deserves to be recognized as a great album. Number 12 out of 50 on the nu metal list. And you only got one head PE in here? I don't know. That seems a little high, but as an Incubus fan, as a huge fan of this era of Incubus, I'm not mad at it. So we'll keep it there. Now, number 11. Last one before we get to the top 10. Evanescence, Fallen. No. Yes, she can sing. Yes, Bring Me to Life is a big song. Is this a good album? Not really. I get including this album because of Bring Me to Life. I will give it a pass on that. But to put it this high? No. And to be honest with you, I don't know that you would even call this nu metal, really. Like, yes, there is some chuggy riffs. Bring Me to Life is definitely an outlier because, you know, you got the dude from 12 Stones doing a little bit of like rapping in it. There's nothing else like that on the album. A lot of these songs are very slow. They're very piano driven. No. If you're going to put Evanescence on this list, I can maybe give it a pass. But this high, absolutely not. I've listened to this album a few times. I bought it when it came out. Did not care for it super much. I get why there is a following for Evanescence, and I get why this album was popular. But it's not for me. If I was... Okay, put it this way. When this came out, I was a pretty happy young man. If I was a pretty sad young lady, I would love this album a lot more than I do. So I'm going to have to disagree with that. I don't think that should be there. I don't think it should be on the list at all, much less number 11. Yikes. But there you go. Next episode will be the last episode of this series where we will get into the top 10. Woo! What a ride it has been. Please give me your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking about this list. Is it right? Is it wrong? I would imagine next week's might be a little bit longer. I might know the albums a little better. I might have more to say. Or I might just get pissed off a whole lot. We'll see what happens. But hit us up, breakdownsbreakfast@gmail.com. All the usual socials, Facebook, Instagram, X. Let us know what you think. And see you next week. Hope you have a good day.